Okay, thank you. So I have the very simple task of just welcoming you all here this afternoon, and then I'm going to hand over to Uachtaráin Hinfé and McDonald, who is going to give you a keynote address and address the political challenges and opportunities of the day. So over to Mary on change, sharing power and building for the future. So good afternoon. And I'm very pleased to be here. For so long we couldn't move really anywhere, so it's just great. I feel this great sense of liberation to be back in Ireland's second city. So the Vacoria agus tá fáilte roh galéir mór inniu. As I say, I very much welcome this opportunity to speak to you here in Belfast today. The former British Prime Minister Harold Wilson once famously said that a week is a long time in politics. And if ever that was evident, it's here in the North over the past 7 days. Indeed, it was Wilson who held power as the old Northern state and the Unionist regime at Stormont imploded in the late 1960s, unable to cope with basic demands for equality and rights. And in many ways, it is still that failure to accept rights and equality which has been at the root of the political storm within unionism that we've witnessed over the course of recent days. The outworking of Brexit and the decision of the DUP to support it, the inevitable disaster of the post-election pact with the English Tories, the loss of the unionist majority in Stormont, have created a political landscape which many within the leadership of the DUP seem incapable of reconciling themselves to. You see, Ireland has changed, and the North is a fast-changing society, and the political institutions have to catch up with this reality. The balance of power has shifted irreversibly, and that's now reflected around the executive table and in the makeup of the Assembly. So seeking to recreate political conditions which have gone and gone forever is the roadmap to exactly the sort of political cul-de-sac which we witnessed in the course of the past 7 days. I take no comfort from the events of the past week. We want to see functioning political institutions, institutions whose success is not measured in the ability simply to stay afloat, but measured in the impact that they have on citizens' lives. And in an executive and an assembly that guarantees and promotes rights, with equality and respect at their core, that develops our economy, drives opportunity and protects workers' rights. Sinn Féin will never stand idly by while rights are denied to women, to our LGBTQ community, to Gaeilgeoirí or to anybody else. And I'm very glad to say that Acta na Gaeilge and the wider cultural package is now concluded, and that legislation will come forward at Westminster in October, followed by the appointment of language commissioners. But 15 years is far too long to wait for such basic rights to be recognised. Táim lán sásta a ógairt go bhfuil Acta na Gaeilge agus an barteanga cultúr réitithe inis, agus go dtiocfaidh an reachtaíocht os Cór Westminster in Neara Fór, Rauno for the commissionary in a year. Yesterday, I spoke for the first time with the new DUP leader, Jeffrey Donaldson, and we have agreed to meet next week. And the question facing him is this: whether he is up for real partnership, real power sharing, for political institutions that deliver. If the answer to those questions is yes, then he will find a willing partner in the Sinn Féin team led by Michelle O'Neill. A partner who wants to get on with the task of delivering better public services, tackling the hospital waiting lists, building decent homes and managing the economy out of COVID. A partner that will continue to give a voice to those who have none, who will work across party lines both in the Assembly and the Executive in achieving rights for women, for Irish language speakers, for newcomer communities and every section of our people who live here. A ministerial team with Michelle alongside Conor Murphy, Deirdre Hargey and Declan Carney working in the Executive to meet the real challenges facing us as we move out of this pandemic. But being part of this real partnership government is making and then sticking to agreements. All of the parties and two governments signed on for New Decade, New Approach. So its implementation is not a point of negotiation, it's an obligation on all of us. The failure of the DUP to meet this basic political benchmark and to actively obstruct basic rights is not the basis upon which effective partnership government can be built. And I believe that this approach by the DUP is way out of sync with wider society, including very many within the unionist community. There are many people within the broader unionist community I know who value the LGBTQ community, who value and embrace diversity, and who see no threat whatsoever from Irish language rights. They, like us, want to live in peace, to raise their family in a community based on decency and respect. They have no truck with sectarianism or triumphalism. They don't see their politics in terms of victory or defeat, and they are confident in their own identity, and rightly so. And likewise with Brexit and the approach taken to the protocol, the DUP are evidently not in step with broad public opinion, including so many within wider unionism. Brexit and the Brexiteers sought to isolate the North from the rest of Europe against the democratic wishes of the majority of people here. And the DUP, may I say, will be making another very grave political error if they seek to endanger the political stability of the institutions over the consequences and the outworkings of their Brexit policy. Níl bunús leis an protocol a scrusa, is se dhearthol agus úsáid a bhaint as an cosint rinse na móna na le dúchláin agus deacrachtaí a réiteacht. Is féidir teacht aréiteach agus bíam saléir anseo. Tá an protocol ag tastal diasca nach watha le héireann nó an tuascart Brexit. Talk of abolishing the protocol are not grounded in reality. Good faith, engagement and use of the Joint Committee is the only mechanism to address challenges and difficulties, and solutions can be found. We see evidence of that today, but let me be clear. We need the protocol because Brexit is bad news for Ireland and bad news for the North in particular. So the DUP need to work alongside the rest of us to meet the challenges and maximise the opportunities of the Irish protocol. Business wants the protocol to work. They expect political leaders to work together to deliver solutions to the practical challenges that they face. So now change is in the air, and many now assess the type of future that is possible. Can it be better than the past? Can it be better than the status quo? Well, of course it can. The pace of this discourse is accelerating both inside and outside political systems in London, in Belfast and in Dublin. I firmly believe that within this decade the people will have the opportunity to freely choose new constitutional and political arrangements on this island as underpinned by the provisions of the Good Friday Agreement. And everyone who has a stake in this transformation from across this island must be involved in designing the shape that takes. So far from diluting unionist tradition or British identity and culture in any future arrangements, these rights, like others, must and will be guaranteed. Last week, Taoiseach and leader of Fine Gael, Leo Varadkar, made a very welcome political intervention, saying that the time to start for planning for Irish unity is now. I very much hope that he and the government of which he is part is as good as his word and will begin this process now. And let me be clear, there is no contradiction in working within a functioning power-sharing government while building for a new, united, shared Ireland. While the different parties in the executive at this time may hold different and legitimate visions for the future, power sharing, the primacy of a democratic, respectful and tolerant society must be the order of the day as we forge together a path in common cause, demonstrating a unity of purpose for all our people. Throughout the COVID pandemic, this has been the overriding approach of the 5 parties within the executive, and I believe that they've done a good job. In the days ahead, it's critical that political stability be restored. That is the least that people expect. Sinn Féin stands ready now to re-nominate Michelle O'Neill as Deputy First Minister. We will play our part. We don't seek to humiliate or to profit from the dysfunction within the DUP. But we will stand firm on basic rights and entitlements. These are not up for discussion and they are not up for negotiation. We are well past that time. Because now is the time for implementation. Now is the time for respect and equality. Now is the time for genuine and real partnership. Gurmahe Gwev Galer. Hey Tracy.
Hey there, Magda. Good to see you back in Belfast. My question is, you say there that there's no need